Hey everybody, Patrick here at Rep 4. It is January 7th and this is Monday Night Paintball. Alright guys, time for some paintball news and industry trends. Paintball Extravaganza International is going on February 26th through 28th. That's a paintball trade show. There's a lot of cool stuff there. You guys might be familiar with the show. This is where we debuted the D-Mag, the Drum Mag, the Mag Kits, all of our cool stuff. We're bringing it out there to show it off. So be sure to check out all of those videos on YouTube from those people walking around with cameras. There's different paintball shows online that follow events like that, or you can check us out here on the Rep 4 YouTube channel. We'll be sure to cover the event as far as all the stuff that we bring out there. In an effort to further promote the crossover marker, Tippmann is bringing back their team, Tippmann Effect. Now their home field is going to be at the Paintball Plex in Leota, Indiana. It's very cool to see Tippmann bring back this team to help promote this marker. The whole reasoning behind the crossover is that it's a good marker for any style of play, whether you're playing speedball or woods ball. They'll be playing Division 3 this year in the MPPL League, and we're very interested in seeing how they perform. Now if you haven't heard yet, there's going to be an event in New Jersey this year that's going to be magfed only. This is the only magfed only event of this size that we've heard of going on the East Coast. And I know a lot of you last year around Operation End Wartime were downright demanding a magfed only event. The cool thing about Cell Team 6 is that the rentals are going to be 468s. So if you would like to test one out this March, before you buy one, go to Cell Team 6. It's going to be at On Target Paintball in Pemberton, New Jersey on March 24th. Alright guys, for this week's tactical tip, I'm going to hand the stage over to Murphy from Savoy 6. For those of you who are not familiar, Savoy 6 is our flagship team. They get a lot of our gear before the rest of you do, so that they can test it out and let us know what we need to change before we release it to the general public. Their team comprised mostly of veterans, and they're very involved in veteran charities like the recent Spartan race. All the proceeds that they earned went to the Green Beret Foundation. So, with no further ado, Murphy from Savoy 6.
Hey, what's going on guys? This is Murph with Savoy 6 Tactical Paintball Team down here in Escondido, California and Mr. Paintball USA. So it's a fun little family-friendly field. If you ever get a chance to come out, it's a lot of fun. Today I'm going to show some magazine-fed paintball with magazine-fed pistols. So we're going to be using the Overlord Recon, and we're also going to be using the Tippmann TPX. Both of them are similar, but they have their differences as well. So you'll be able to see those. You'll also be able to see my cousin John's reactions. He's a young guy, young Marine, and he's never really done magazine-fed paintball before. He's definitely familiar with magazine-fed weapons, but now we're going to get his reaction with those magazine-fed paintball guns. So we're going to get his before and after reaction, also with that live gameplay, with a little bit of one-on-one duel with us, with some family-friendly, family rivalry, and then we're going to be getting some live play with some team members, with some walk-on players. So thanks for tuning in, and let's check it out.
Hey, how's it going? It's John. I'm about to do some magazine-fed paintball. A little nervous because I'm wondering, you know, I run out too quickly, but it's going to be all about accuracy today. So I'm excited. Hope things go well.
Hey guys, it's Murph again. So we did our magazine fed paintball with my cousin John, and I think he did pretty good. He definitely showed a little bit of hesitance in the beginning because that hopper, when you do hopper fed paintball, it's a safety blanket. It makes you feel good, it makes you feel confident because you know you got 250 rounds of hate and discontent that you can just, not every shot has to count. But when you got a 7-round magazine and a TPX, it's a little scary to a newcomer, and he jumped right into it. He started picking his shots, started slowing down his breathing, started really making it count. And one cool thing about magazine-fed paintball, particularly with a pistol, is you're very lightweight, you're very quiet. You really don't have to worry about a lot of gear jumbling around, so you can really make that your real advantage. And he did that. And when we got into the gameplay, as you'll see in some of the video, he really got in there and tore it up just because he was able to jump up, take a shot, move, and when those guys are sitting there taking all that time reloading, get that heavy marker weighing on them, and they're having to pick their shots, all you got to do is swing your arm around, you're already engaging from the other side of the bunker. So I think he did really well, but he definitely had some growing pains going up, so we're going to get his reaction, and then we'll show you all some of the footage. Thanks.
Hey, it's John again. Just got done doing the magazine-fed paintball, and I gotta say it did hurt more, but it is a lot more fun, and it's very more realistic. That's what I did like about it, because you got about 7 rounds in there, and you know you really reload and run around, you know, trying to find some of the hide and reload, and it's a good time. So I actually prefer that more now with the regular way of doing paintball. So it was awesome.
Now remember, Savoy 6 has their own Facebook page where you can reach any of the 35 or more players on their team. They've got a lot of experience in scenario paintball and they'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. So check them out at facebook.com/Savoy6Paintball.
Welcome back to Wrap 4. Omar Macy here. Today we're going to talk about assembly of a handguard onto the 468 upper receiver. We've had a lot of questions as far as how the mounting points are, what type of handguards are available for it, and so today we're really going to go in depth on how to do it. We're going to assemble a couple different options here and show you the step-by-step. The upper receiver, much like an AR-15, M4, or any of the AR-based rifle family, it has a barrel nut attachment. Okay, barrel nut attachment this is where free-floating handguards would attach the barrel nut, or the delta ring assembly, which is also a barrel nut. Let me go ahead and grab a couple of these so I can show you the differences. For the delta ring assembly, it's basically the barrel nut, the delta ring, a spring, and a C-clamp that hold everything together. This is the method for standard AR-15s to attach a handguard, which also uses the A-frame front sight as a support or a gas block. With this method, you're attaching onto the barrel. Your handguard attaches onto the barrel, where a free-floating handguard would be attaching directly onto your receiver and no contact with the barrel anywhere. Obviously in firearms, this is a preferred method to have for better accuracy. That way you don't have this contact with the barrel because you're holding onto it. And you know, obviously it translates to paintball a little bit as well. If you're holding onto the barrel, if you're you know, slamming up against the wall, you will, even in a minute scale, you will be twisting the barrel out of its axis a certain amount, which can affect accuracy. Once again, with the ranges with paintball, it will not be as noticeable as it would be with a highly accurized rifle shooting firearm caliber projectile. Okay, so once again, we have our upper receiver. We're gonna have, you do require a few tools because it's the real method of attaching a handguard versus previous paintball setups where you use set screws or mounting brackets or what have you. Okay, so very recommendable if you're going to be attaching your own handguard. If you do not get it as a factory option, get yourself an AR-15 multi-tool. This tool has the I mean, this is used for most of your needs in an AR-15. It has your delta ring assembly, mounting tools. You have 2 actually, depending on your situation. You have the 2-prong one and also the star-shaped one that fits all around the delta ring assembly. You also have the castle nut attachment for the buffer tube or the receiver extension. and a few other mounting locations. But get yourself one of these. They're pretty inexpensive, and it's a great tool to have once you have the 468, and especially if you're going to be going back and forth, changing different setups, handguards, and so forth. Okay, so once again, attachment point. First, we're going to go ahead and do the Delta ring assembly pack. This is for a standard carbine length handguard, or even the rifle length, or anything else which you've seen as a standard M4. Today we're going to be assembling this with the MOE handguard at a carbine length. Okay, this is almost exactly the same thing as a traditional one that you've seen in almost anything, but this is of course a nicer, more ergonomic method to use, and it's a slight upgrade as well. So we're going to go ahead and deal with this one today. Okay, a couple things to consider. I'm going to show you a couple tools that I use to attach this onto here. This front section is, I suppose, because of the lock bolt assembly, you're able to change out the whole feed chamber. This part is not permanently attached to the rest of the receiver. So this could, in turn, when you're really putting the force on the barrel nut, it could twist out of axis just a little bit. So what I like to do is either use a scope that you have, something that has this type of Picatinny rail mount. You basically attach it on there. Here, let me unscrew this a little bit. Okay, and the reason why we're doing this is because I can apply a lot of force and torque the barrel nut into place without the danger of twisting the rail on top, which again is what we're going for here. Okay, so you would just take your Delta ring assembly, screw it directly onto your receiver. You can make sure that it's okay. Well, one thing to watch out for, you will always want to have a small gap between the end of the Delta ring assembly or the barrel nut against the receiver. If you do not have that gap, you're going to want to have a spacer that gives you that gap, something like this piece right here. Of course, we stock these, and they'll come as part of most of your handguard accessories that you may purchase. But again, it's very important that this does not go up against the receiver, because you might not be really tightening against the barrel nut as you should, and it could cause other kinds of problems. So make sure that if you do not have a gap there, you get yourself basically a barrel nut shim system. Okay, now I'm going to use this scope in this case, or I also kind of fashioned two components together, which is just a rail mount riser with a vertical grip. Actually, this would be a preferred method because you have more leverage to put the torque that it requires to attach the barrel nut properly. Okay, you don't want this to be coming loose. I mean, you don't need to apply this much force onto it. You can, do this by hand if you want to, but it'll convert it more to what traditional paintball guns are assembled as, which is all hand tightened, and and things come apart. They rattle over time when you're shooting. So we're going to assemble this the proper way. Okay. Again, if you do not have something like this to fashion, use a scope, use something else. If you don't have any of these, I mean, you can still do it, but just be careful that when you're applying force to it, you don't accidentally twist this out of axis very much. Now, there's another method to prevent that. If you do not have something to attach on the top, use your lower receiver itself, because that will keep everything straight, and it will mitigate the amount of twist that this thing can have. Okay, just something to keep in mind there. All right, so this is our tool. Okay, so once again, you're going to align your two locations here, and all we're basically doing is just putting enough force to this that we know that this thing will not loosen up anytime soon. Okay, something else that is very important for the Delta ring assembly, on a direct impingement system with an AR family rifle, there's a gas tube that comes from the barrel, basically from the gas block through the receiver into your bolt carrier and action and so forth. So you need to align this let's call it star shape, has these half moon shapes. You have to at least align one of the half moon shapes to match the center line of the receiver. And this is very crucial for assembling your handguards and such, because they also match the same locations. They have some lugs on the attachment point that will keep it centered and straight. So that's something you want to do. Here we're just going to go through a kind of preliminary test to see that it is straight. Okay, we haven't attached the barrel or anything yet, so we're not going to get an exact test. But you're able to kind of, let's call it bore sight, or look down your whole receiver. You want to make sure that this is parallel to your bottom side of the receiver, and through your riser, if you have a riser, you can see that it's straight. So this is actually pretty good. We put enough force on here that this is not going to separate anytime soon, so we can now go ahead and remove our nifty tool. Go ahead and get rid of that one for the time being. Okay, so once again we've confirmed that this is properly aligned. Now we're going to take barrel assembly. Basically this has an A-frame front sight, and it has the front cap that is that will go onto your receiver. Something that this is missing again, the gas tube for the direct impingement system that will align with everything. But this one also has two tabs that align with the receiver itself, so you want to make sure that you align those properly. Okay, if this is the first time you're attaching your barrel, go ahead and tighten it. Well, in this case I already previously attached this barrel before, so my sides line up as they should. Again, this is because it's already been previously done. With a paintball type of barrel, there is no there's no set location. This thing will just attach anywhere the threads will lead it to. Unlike an AR based family rifle, where it'll have a location where it's set, because it needs to have the gas port coming from the gas block. It needs to be in the vertical position so it all works properly. With paintball, that's not the case, so you just want to make sure that you attach your barrel, make sure it's tight enough to a position that it's not going to come free on its own, and then align your front sight or gas block that you may already have, or if it's being supplied by us, we will already set it for you to what it would be. Now this one, it just basically takes an Allen key. I believe this is 2 millimeters that it works for this one. You just basically put it inside, twist it out, and adjust it. Okay, if you're using the same barrel to do multiple attachments, I recommend that you take your front sight and put a piece of O-ring in front of your set screw. That way you're not marking your barrel at all, and you can do all kinds of attachments. Take it apart over and over, and you won't damage your barrel or your surface of your barrel at all, ever. At this stage, we're making sure that the front cap is aligned to your gas port hole. Again, coming from a gas block. In this case, it does have a hole for alignment. If it doesn't, just make sure that's in the vertical position. There's a little slot there. And again, that's important because these has two little attachment points that make sure this is aligned and it's not twisting in place. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the top half of your handguard, attach it first. It's very important that you do that one. It will not work the other way around. That's just part of it. Okay, so once this is all the way forward, can't go any farther forward, you're going to pull down your delta ring assembly and then just close it back up on it. Okay, once it aligns, it kind of seats in place and you're able to do that. Okay, next step, you take the lower half. Again, find out which is the back and the front when you're looking at this. You can tell the back from the front because the front goes into this front cap and the back has two little lugs that attach to the barrel nut with a star-shaped part. Okay, once again, we assemble the front first, guide it in there. You will need to pull back. There we go, it all seats together, and now we have a properly assembled upper receiver using the MOE handguard or a standard carbine length polymer handguard with heat shields. Okay. Take our lower receiver. Okay. Again, at this point, we're able to do full assembly on our marker. Okay. Make sure that the bolt is in the proper position, so you don't have any sort of problems when you're assembling it. Close it together. Put the pin through. Cycle it a couple times, and you're ready to go. Alright, so moving on to the free float version of the attachment to our barrel nut attachment. Again, very similar to what we did with the carbine plastic or polymer handguards. We're going to do a very similar process to assemble this. Again, we're going to use our AR tool. We're going to use our receiver. But in this case, because of using this barrel nut, which no longer is the delta ring assembly, this is actually a barrel nut. Pretty much every manufacturer of a free float handguard will have their own. Some do use this style of barrel nut, but you have to remove the whole delta ring assembly, just leave the barrel nut. Again, each one will be different, so that's where these spacers come in very handy, because each manufacturer will have slight differences, and therefore you put a spacer to make up for any differences that manufacturers may have. Okay, so once again, first part goes in, you take your upper receiver, you slip on your spacer. Now I've chosen this size of spacer because I've known that this is the size needed for this barrel nut. When you get these spacers, you get multiple sizes, so you'll adjust it accordingly to what you need. And once again, as discussed before with the with this one, you want to make sure that your barrel nut does not, well, in fact, I may be able to show you here. You want to make sure that your barrel nut does not touch the receiver. Well, it's not doing it in this case either, but you want to make sure your barrel nut is not touching the receiver when fully tightened. Okay. Once again, this spacer has been previously put in here, so I'm going to go ahead and continue with that. Okay, you put it all the way till it's hand tightened. You don't need to go any farther than that. At this point, I'm going to use the same setup that I did previously, which is attaching a rail to prevent this front section from spinning on there. Again, if it does spin, it will make it harder for you to assemble your receiver, so it's just better to have it this way. Okay, again, different barrel nuts will have different attachments, so a different manufacturer may have their own tool or recommend their own tool. In this case, we're going to use the castle nut attachment onto this receiver, onto this handguard. Okay, except we have to do it in this direction. Okay, and then just again tighten this till we have enough torque to keep it tight and make sure this thing is not going to be coming off on its own or anything else. In fact, I'm going to give it a little bit more, because like other barrel nuts, you have to make sure that these things are aligned. So you want to make sure that your screws are aligned to the receiver. I believe that we're going to be able to take it to one more notch over. So let's try that out. If not, we're going to have to back it up and kind of align that. Now, that's also something that you use these spacers for, in case, let's say, you're not getting the proper alignment. You may want to put another spacer in there to make sure that you are getting the alignment in the end. Okay. So in this case, when tightening this, let's go ahead and see. Okay. All right. And so it looks pretty properly aligned there. Wrong detachment there. Okay. All right. So we have our upper receiver. We slip on the, anything happen here? It's kind of, okay. At which point we attach our upper receiver. Now this one is attached with screws. There is 6 screws that are attached all around the receiver. Okay. You can put one in there. Actually, we're just going to go ahead and leave it that way. So once it's attached, you just go ahead and put your free float handguard. Once again, this handguard is not being affected at all by your by the handguard at all. The barrel is free floating. So even if the handguard moves around it, this thing is still in a stationary spot. This is a preferred method even for paintball as well, because you can always just unscrew the barrel. Again, paintball breaks are a common occurrence in paintball just because of the nature of paintball itself. So it's nice to be able to take out the barrel and clean that on its own, especially when you just have like a barrel break or not a chop per se, but just something like that. Okay, and again, at this point we can go ahead and assemble our marker once again. You have your lower receiver, you take your upper, okay, oh sorry, yeah. Okay, there you go. So this is your 468 with the mil-spec free float handguard, also attached to the barrel nut, but again, free floating, so you're able to remove your barrel at any time, versus the carbine style or the fixed handguard, which attaches to your barrel. So in order to clean that system, you will probably want to run a squeegee all the way down through your bore. Again, so this is one of the advantages of the 468 to begin with. But in this case, you have two ways of accessing your parts, either just the barrel in itself or through the whole bore. Thank you very much.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Now remember, Monday Night Paintball is your show. It's made from the content generated from our Facebook page. So if there's anything you'd like to see in next week's episode, just go to facebook.com/rap4usa and let us know. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you out there.